excited for that and for those students. And I know that you're going to hear from a couple gentlemen tonight that are involved with that. So August will be a lot different. There'll be a lot more on the plate for that, but still a good July.
All right, thank you. And then again, we didn't have anybody sign up for public comments, so we'll go on to routine business. And the first item is the meeting minutes of the June 24th, 2025 regular meeting. And do I have a motion to approve?
Okay.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. And then the meeting minutes from the June 24th, 2025 executive session. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. And then the meeting minutes from the July 29th, 2025 special meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, thank you. And then we have the treasurer's report. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion, we approve.
All right, and a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you. And it looks like we have the budget workshop.
Good evening. All right, here is our budget calendar. As most of you know, I budget all the time. You know, I've already started thinking through where we're going to be in 27 based on where we're at in 26. For us, the budgeting, it's all the time, especially with all the new curveballs we've been thrown in the last few months. Tonight, July 31, is our budget workshop. I'm asking, going to present to you a budget and ask for permission to advertise for that. August 11, that's my goal, to post both the notice to taxpayers on Gateway and on our website. And then at the August 28th board meeting, that will be the public hearing on the budget. The reason I chose August 11 is it has to be posted both in Gateway and on the website at least 10 days before the meeting. I never like to wait till the last minute to do anything. Sometimes the state websites like to glitch or things like that. So that's why August 11th was the date chosen to post on Gateway and the school website. And then after the August 28th meeting, September 25th is when we will ask you as a board to actually adopt our budget, our capital project fund plan, and our bus replacement plan. So the things we're going to touch on briefly tonight is our education fund, our operations fund, our debt service fund, and our rainy day fund. So as you know, the education fund is driven by our student count. The student count happens October of every year. This year, Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, you will see me going around, asking, hey, is anybody withdrawn today? Have we got any new students today? Because October 1 is our official count day. This is kind of like a history of our ADM. 24-25, October 1, we were at 819. We dropped to 801 in February. That's pretty standard. It happens like that about every year. Some years not quite so much. But what we do to kind of figure for our budget, we always assume we're going to lose at least 3 students every year. So in 23-24, we were at 805. So when we were figuring for the budget for next year, we were figuring our student count would be 802. So when we dropped to 801, we're really right where we kind of thought we would be. Our cash balance in the education fund, starting 24-25, we had heard things were going to be changing. We've always tried to be really fiscally responsible, conservative with our dollars. So our cash balance has been kind of growing a little bit. So where we're at there. So some of the assumptions that we have to make every year when we're planning for the new budget is that utilities are going to increase by 10% each year. And Unfortunately, if you look at the first half of 24, so that's January 1 of 24 through June 30 of 24, and then look at January 1 of 25 through June 30 of 25, our water utility increased by 23.6%. Our electric went up 16.1%, and our natural gas went up 58.1%. Property and casualty insurance, we went with a new carrier for the year of 25, and I'm happy to report that our insurance decreased by 27%. So it's been a good move for us. I've been very happy with, the questions we've had with this new carrier. And I think that the savings was really, it was really a good move for us as a district to move our insurance. ADM, as I said, we were forecasting every year that we're going to decrease by 3 students. We're trying to keep, maintain the effort to keep the staffing levels in the education fund the same. It's what benefits our students the best. And then this is kind of the pressing one, the impact of the circuit breaker. As you know, there was a lot of tax reform last year. The amount that we did not collect due to tax, property tax deductions and things like that was $73,291. This year, the impact of the circuit breaker is $248,200. We're looking at a difference there of about $174,000 some dollars that we will not get. So the education fund, this is what we're anticipating 26 is going to be. The last half of 25 and all of 26, we're predicting that our revenue is going to be $13,749,000, and we're predicting that the expenditures are going to be $12,987,884. So we're not going to advertise, obviously, anything for property tax levies in the education fund because that is all driven by student count. Our debt service. So the next 18 months, the last half of 25 and all of 26, we know we're going to get about $679,000. We know we're getting that. We know we're going to spend $1,656,000. So we're going to request and to advertise for the 59 cents because that's going to put us at $1,326,000. That's really $350,000 more than we need. We always have to ask the state for more than what we're going to need because if you ask, whatever you ask them for, you're never going to get that much. So last year we requested 61 cents and we ended up with 36. So we think if we advertise for this 59, we're actually going to get what we need to cover our debt. Operations fund. So we know we're going to get about $3,600,000 and some thousand. Our expenditures the next 18 months are going to be $6 million. We're going to request $2,845,000, and that's going to be $1.26. Last year we requested $1.36 and ended up with 69 cents. Same thing. We're going to ask as high as we can pretty much go to try to get as much as what we can to cover all of our expenses. Our rainy day fund, I am happy to say, is really holding steady. We have $1,206,000 in our rainy day fund. I'm hoping that we don't spend a single dime of it because that means nothing catastrophic has happened that we needed it for. But we always predict that, we're going to spend something. I'm predicting $600,000, and that will leave us with a little over $600,000 left in our rainy day fund. So this is just kind of a recap. We're asking for permission to advertise 59 cents for debt service, and $1.26 for operations. Are there any questions?
All right, seeing none then. We've seen the budget workshop. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Yep.
That comes later.
Oh, does it? I'm sorry. Oh,
Yep, sorry.
yep, sorry. We'll do this later. We will go on to the creation of the JAG position. And would you like to give a little background on that?
Sure. So, as you all know, the JAG funding was drastically cut at the state level. And so, about every school lost their program. There was a few schools that were going to be able to keep the program for one more year. We were not one of them. Through constant pushing and also finding out that another school was considering not keeping it, we were the school that was able to be selected to get the funding for one more year. So as you can see in here, what I'm asking is, and the MOU will be slightly different. In the past, JAG had the employees and they were contracted to work at the school. With this MOU, what JAG is stating is that they will be our employees and they will reimburse us for the salary and benefits of the employee that we hire. This is asking all of you to create the JAG instructor position so that then later in the personnel you can see that we have the selected individual to be our JAG instructor. So while it's exciting, I also do want to emphasize it's 1 year. That's the funding that we will be receiving.
All right. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. And then we have the list of personnel that he mentioned. And do I have a motion to approve this list?
Make a motion to approve.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you very much. And then we have a list of donations, and we would like to thank Sherry Graff by making her donation in memory of John Cummins to the middle high school band. Don and Susie Schulte made a donation to the tennis team. An anonymous donor made a donation to the middle school activities, and Linda Maddox made a donation to the NJROTC scholarship. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move we approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. And then we have a list of fundraiser requests. Do I have a motion to approve?
I think those are just informational now, aren't they?
We still, yes, but the procedure we've been doing is still approving them. The change that we made is allowing the principal and myself to approve ahead of time and let them start prior to the board approval.
All right, then I make a motion we approve.
All right, thank you. And then a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you. And then we have an update to the elementary handbook. This is due to the required corrective actions for the cafeteria compliance with the state. We had to update 2 items, which include the list here that they have. Do I have a motion to approve these updates?
I'll move we approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you. And then we also have an update to the middle high school handbook. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you. And then we have a presentation from the PTO.
Hello. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Andrea Sylvester. I am the vice president, of PTO. We wanted to come by and kind of discuss some of the changes that happened recently with the intruder lock situation and the money that we raised for the walkathon. So essentially, our main goal for the walkathon last year was to provide extra security to the students across the elementary to all the way to the high school. With that being said, we were very, very successful. We actually exceeded our goal, raised, I think it was $35,000, which we were super happy about and very grateful for the community for rallying with us. With that being said, we went to move forward with the process, purchased the intruder locks, and found out that after asking for the written permission from the state, it was then needed that we need the variance that we needed. So we looked into that process. It was going to be very, very costly. We would have to go up to the Indianapolis branch go through all the meetings. We would have to hire legal counsel for that. It's gonna cost thousands and thousands of dollars just to try to get the intruder locks approved, which we were told we had a 5% chance or less of getting it approved. So we decided instead of wasting the funds of everyone that did donate, we pivoted to a different alternative solution. With that being said, the original plan was to install the shatterproof panes, film in the high school. That is still continuing to happen. The difference is the elementary side and part of the middle school. So we are going to install the same film in the elementary. And what that does, I will kind of let Marvin explain the difference between the two, but it still provides the same level of protection that we were going to get with the intruder locks. It's just a different route. The reason we didn't go with this route to begin with was the cost difference. The window panes were a lot more expensive than the locks, but because we did exceed our goal, we were able to cover that with zero extra fundraising needing to happen. So we were really excited to be able to offer that. We were still able to purchase the shades that provide the protection as well for the privacy, that if we were to have an intruder, somebody comes in, they drop that shade, it takes less than a second to activate, so they cannot see inside the classroom. I know we have procedures in place that keep the students from being in the line of fire. It's just an extra added protection that we can do there. Some of the current protection that was in motion can no longer be there. It is a fire hazard. So that's why we had to really kind of pivot and choose different options. I know we had a sleeve that somebody generously offered. I think it was a retired firefighter at one point. And while we were super grateful for that, there was no way of deactivating that on the outside of the doors. So that was a complete fire hazard, and we had to remove those moving forward, so we didn't get anything from the state. The window films have been approved. We did get written consent that there was no variation or variance needed to be filed. So we have moved forward with that. Marvin has been in contact with the company, getting that set up, so they should be installing that during fall break, and I think Scott was too, so thank you for that. So that's all in motion. It's all paid for. We're moving forward with that process. We open the next meeting. It's August 26th at 6 p.m. at the elementary office or elementary library for questions. If the public has questions, if they would like us to go into more detail about the expenditures, all the different things, we are happy to do that. That is what that meeting is solely for. We've got a couple other things that we'd like to go over since that is our first PTO meeting for the year. But I will pass it off to Marvin to explain the safety procedures, how they work and how they differ from the law.
Yeah, so we installed the film, the safety film, which is like a 16 mil film on the outside. The ones that they're installing down the elementary is going to be it's going to be a thicker film just because it's a smaller window. The process will probably take, I don't know, they did this pretty quick last time they were here, so I could maybe 3 days. And it's going to be on the inside of the bigger windows here on A and B hallway, or I'm sorry, upper A and lower A hallways, middle school and the elementary. So all the interiors should be pretty secure. As far as the fire hazard goes, once again, you know, they're putting police officers in the schools, not firefighters. So I feel like that says enough why it's just a better idea at this point. And the locks, the intruder locks, I feel like our locks were, and not to go back on them, but I feel like the door locks are more than sufficient with keeping intruders out. So I just feel like in the long run, that was going to be a waste of money anyways.
The main reason they're different but still equally secure is the whole idea was if there were to be an intruder in the school, which is statistically a lot more likely to happen than having a fire inside the school. When they come through, if they shoot out that glass, they could reach in and open that door and they would have access to the students, no matter if the door is locked or not. So the locks, the whole purpose of the locks was to have a secure bottom force so that even if they are trying to unlock the door, it would not open. The way the shatterproof windows are going to work is they are not bulletproof. They cannot stop a bullet. However, you cannot shatter through them to fit your whole fist or whole arm through there to unlock the door. So the doors themselves are secure, but what happens is they can no longer bust through that window to still be able to access that. I'm not going to say it's impossible because never say never, but if they were to, it's going to deter them long enough that Marvin could get there or the local police department or crane or whoever, whatever our process is. It's gonna delay them fast enough that there's gonna be very to little, hopefully no issues whatsoever and no casualties.
So these are on the interior windows, not the exterior windows?
Right, so on, yeah, so right now we've, on all the, well, we won't go into that, just for.
We can say the exterior windows are
Yes.
very costly.
Yeah, so anyways, yeah, it's gonna serve it's gonna serve its purpose being on these interior windows, yes.
When you look at the statistics of school shootings and things like that, it's not happening from people driving down outside of the school. I mean, it could, again, never say never, but the likelihood of it happening is gonna be inside the school. It's gonna be a kid that brings it in from their backpack. It's gonna be a parent that comes in upset. It's not gonna happen on the outside, it's gonna happen on the inside. So we need to protect from the inside out. Eventually, I would love to be able to fund the outside windows, but guys, that was like $60,000. We're only one PTO. This is only our second year, so I don't think it's that far, but we have some really fun, exciting things that we're gonna try this year moving forward. It was just our initial goal that we wanted to provide that level of safety just because the world is, where we are. So we're glad that we're able to do it. It kind of put a little bit of a damper that we had to pivot, but it's not a no, and we are still able to protect students, which we're very happy to do.
I'd like to thank them because that's a lot of money, and obviously everything's taking a dive, so we appreciate it.
And a lot of work. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
It's a lot of work. We appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, and then the Indiana Uplands High School Academy, MOU.
So I wanted to introduce Stefan Welsh, who's the Director for Rural Indiana Workforce Development for Microelectronics. And if you guys got any questions for him, he said he'll answer anything. But this has been, it's been, 18 months maybe to get to this point of being able to offer these internships and these learning opportunities for the students. We're super excited. Mr. Dean mentioned earlier, we've got 3 students lined up that'll be spending a half day there. So anything you want to add or some insight for them?
I just want to express some gratitude, first of all, Bloomfield being a part of this whole planning process, has been a really awesome experience. It's been 18 months of planning and planning and planning and planning, and now here we are, going to start school on Wednesday, right? And I brought the instructor with me, Joel Carl, so he will be spending time with the students every day. But it takes a lot of courage to look at a new pathway for students and to be able to commit to it. And I'm really excited to see that from Bloomfield. I think it's going to, pay dividends for your students, give them some more opportunities in the long run, and will help in the local economy too, because a lot of this kind of ties back into Crane, right, which is at your guys' doorstep, and also allow students to be part of an initiative that is focused on defense of the country as well. So, a lot of valor goes into all that, and I'm really proud of all the stuff we're going through. I'm going to let Joel introduce himself and just talk a little bit about some of the student experiences that we're planning for at least the first month here.
Sure. My name is Joel Carl. I grew up down in Vincennes, and for the past 13 years, my wife and I have lived in Indianapolis, but we're very glad to be coming back to something that feels more familiar to home. I've been teaching computer science for the past 5 years. I've been teaching, I was just thinking about this sitting here. I think I started teaching in 2015. So this is either going to be my 10th year or it'll start after this coming school year. So anyway, I'm very excited about what we're going to do. The way I look at it, I look at it as some of the kids in your community being able to be a part of the future and making the future feel more approachable to all of us, because it's pretty wild what's happening. In the first couple of months, what we're going to be working on is soldering. And so getting them a very practical skill, getting them certifications, And then, but I'm also going to be making it real to them. So the very first project, assuming that we get it approved, is going to be making their own video game device, soldering it together themselves. So turning a basic making skill into something that they really connect with. And I hope then that will turn into something that we can bring it back to the school, show other students, get them excited to sign up for it in the coming years. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I don't want to take too much time. But I am very, very excited. I'm grateful for the opportunity that you guys are affording along with the other schools.
The last thing I'd like to mention about that is so these students will be enrolled in Ivy Tech's dual credit program. They're going to be earning their semiconductor fabrication certificate right there at Westgate with us over a 2-year period. So that's going to be a really awesome certificate that they can take with them to higher education or into the workplace. Right away.
Is it just Bloomfield, Washington, and Lagodi? Is that who?
To start with, yes. So congratulations, founders. Yes, yes. Yeah, so to add to that, 18 months of planning, we invited 6 schools and three stuck it through. Bloomfield's one of them. So congratulations.
That was one instructor. Is there, like, what's the teacher to student ratio? How many kids can you accept?
Well, we have goals for a morning session and an afternoon session. This first year, we're starting with juniors. There'll be 13 students that are enrolled currently from the 3 schools, and we have 2 instructors. So we have an engineer at Reliable Microsystems who we're partnered with. We're in their space, a senior engineer there, and he will provide the industry experience and background, but he's not a teacher by trade. That's where Joel comes in, right? So really a team effort, really a team effort to make sure that the kids are getting the right content, right? But taught by somebody who knows how to teach.
Yeah, I think of it as he's the pro and I'm the talker. That's what I mean. But I am looking forward to learning along with them and making it so that students are going to have a wonderful experience with both of us. And it's going to be so hands-on. That 13 is really nice to start that way, but then I certainly hope that it grows.
Yeah. So the number we're looking at is in that 40 to 50 range eventually. So after this,
to be clear.
Yeah, split, right? To be, so we have 25 seats in the room. We'd like to see 25 students in the morning session and 25 students in the evening session. Yep.
Now, how do the kids go about applying for this? What is it that they have to do?
Well, this first year, we leaned on the school districts to help vet the first cohort because we didn't feel like it was the right process to go through in May with students that hadn't heard anything about this. So over the next year, we're really going to be figuring out the type of student that we think is going to best fit that profile, but be working with our steering committee, which consists of all 3 schools and some industry partners and Ivy Tech to figure out that exact process. This first year is kind of like, hey, we need to start. We need the first cohort. Schools, which students do you think would fit for this right now? And Bloomfield had 3 that they think would fit. So, yeah, good question.
All right. Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, we need approval, correct? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have cross-district funding framework for Indiana Uplands High School Academy.
So that's the next step in this is
Okay.
you got to put a little bit of money forward. But this was something that was worked on quite a bit with the ROI team and so when you look at it, there's a couple pieces in there. Ivy Tech is actually funding the bulk of this program and the remaining, which was 75%, correct?
Correct.
So 25% of the program will be split between us, Lagodi, and Washington, but on a per pupil formula. So, we have 3, and Washington, I think, is the school that has the most students.
6.
Yeah. And so, so since they have 6, we have 3, they're paying double what we pay, but we're paying a per pupil amount within the funding formula. So I really liked the effort that went into this and the back and forth to get to this point where it's an equitable share. And of course, I love Ivy Tech being the um, responsible for the bulk of it. So that's great.
Yeah.
All right, so we need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
All right, and a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. And then we have some updates of the policy. And this is the third reading because we had a change in it. Yes. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve? Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you. And then a first reading of the board policy updates due to the 2025 legislative session. This is a first reading, and we'll do our second reading and vote next month. But is there any questions or comments at this time? All right. Seeing none, we also have an update to the board policy 6151 and 8500. And again, this is the first reading of it. Is there any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. The next item is the permission to advertise the 2026 budget capital fund project plan and the bus replacement plan that Michelle went over for us. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, thank you very much. And then the resolution for the food services employees. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. And then our next item is the director's report, and we have our school nurse, Miss Renee McIntosh here this evening.
Hello, everyone. Dr. Van Dre asked me to present a little bit about my job and things that you may or may not know that a school nurse does. I have a fancy slideshow like Michelle, like Reaper, but as a department head, it's just so I'm it for you. He thought you might be interested in some statistics, meaning how many students come in and out of the nurse's office. And so I compiled that data from the last school year. Keep in mind when you hear these numbers, it's everything. If somebody comes in and asks for a cough drop, their name gets written down and it gets started. They ask them for a Tums, or they've had a seizure, or they need an insulin shot. I mean, there's serious things and there's not serious things, but it all goes into these numbers that you're about to hear. For the high school last school year, I saw 1,866 students. For middle school, it was 3,102. For daily meds and procedures, which that varies, but it's usually around 30, 35 a day students that come in for a daily medication or a procedure. It was 4,550. And then most of my visits come from the elementary, and that was 6,807. All total, it was 16,325 students that came in and out of the nurse's office last school year. I write everything down except for kids that come in that need a coat or gloves or hat for recess. I gave up on that a long time ago. You just can't keep track of it. That's a pretty big number in itself too. Other things that you might not think of that I'm doing, I do organize the vision screenings, and that's required by the state of Indiana to do it every year on grades 1, 3, 5, and 8. I'm thankful to the Lions Club. They come in and help me with this. I started doing the first grade myself, pretty much because they don't do well on those machines. They get confused, and we have kids that fail that really have good vision. So Dr. Stewart and I talked, and he said it's probably best if you just do those yourself. They're intimidated by those machines. But I have high school students in the Lions Club that help me get that done. Could not do that myself. And then for grade 1, the state of Indiana requires what's called modified clinical technique. It basically means that if optometrist has to do it, they have to look into the child's eye to assess the health of their eye. So we have to find a competence to come do that. Doctors Brian and Lisa, husband and wife Stewart, they come in and they assess the entire first grade for us and present me with that data that goes on my state report at the end of the year. They go to all the Greene County schools, so if you know them, thank them. They're just donating their time. And so I'm very grateful that I don't have to make phone calls and try and find somebody to come in and help with something that I can't do. Immunizations, I have no idea how many hours I spend on tracking immunizations, but it's a big part of my job. I have to make sure that our school is compliant, either that every student is compliant with the required immunizations or that they have a religious or medical exemption. And all that just makes it very tedious and takes a lot of time. The county health department has really stepped up the last few years and helped them come into the school and done some immunization clinics. And that has been very helpful for us to be more compliant because it's just a huge convenience to parents. You know, they can sign the consent and kids can get their immunization. So I'm very thankful that we offer that now. We also have a dental program. It's called the Big Smile Program, Indiana Mobile Dentists. They come in every fall. Usually we have between 30 and 50 students that take advantage of this. I would like to see that double, but you know, the parents have to consent to it, and it's a whole process of basically turning in the forms, and that's kind of hard to get done. But we start trying in August and get as many to participate as we can. I've been pleased with the program. I think it's helped a lot of families that have a hard time or may not have dental insurance, etc. And it can take place right in the nurse's office now. I think it's the 5th year in the new nurse's office. I couldn't be more grateful for. I'm glad I spent 10 years in the tiny little germ box, as I call it, because I'm really grateful for what I have right now. People come in and they're like, wow, we've never seen a nurse's office this nice. And I have to agree. They asked me to make a wish list, and I thought, I'm going to write everything down. Believe it or not, I've got everything on my list for that office. So it's wonderful. It's a great part of our school. And I also offer CPR classes in my office. I do that for our staff. Our teachers have to have a current CPR license to renew their teaching license. So all the teachers get certified in CPR. And lots of our staff that it's not required, they still participate, which I'm really proud of. So most of our staff is certified in CPR, AED, and Heimlich. So I'm really proud of that. Like I said, I offer a minimum of quarterly classes. And then when people need extra classes in between, I either offer another class or they get to the online class, bring me their certificate, and then I do a skills check off and get their CPR. So I've done 3 of those in this last week for staff members that realize it's time to renew the license. I do enter the attendance on students that I send home. If they exit through the high school secretaries will enter that. But if they are picked up in the nurse's office, which is great, I have to come on board. They come back to the door to pick it up. Then I enter that. Kind of unique if I need a day off. It's not quite the same as it is for anyone else in the entire district, in my opinion. I have to find my own replacement. So it's kind of tricky. You need to be a registered nurse to fill in for me. So that's really a challenge because there's not a lot of RNs sitting around home, you know, waiting to be called in to help out the school nurse. You know, most nurses have full-time jobs, or they work part-time and or with their children the rest of the time. I mean, it's hard to find good stuff. That being said, we're in the best position we've been in for a long time. I have the best list. I've got 8 or 9 really good nurses on my list, and a couple of them are enthusiastic about wanting to help out, which is so different than it's like pulling teeth usually like me begging. And I've got some people that actually seem to enjoy it and just say yes if I ask them to work for me, so I really appreciate that. how do you get on the sub list? We've got it advertised on the website. And I know school board members, teachers, myself, I'm always looking. Is there anybody that would like to be a substitute school nurse? So if you know anybody, send them my way. But once they apply, go through the background checks, it's required that they spend some time in the office with me because it's harder than most people think, is what I'll tell you. Just don't realize what all you're faced with in a day's time. So they come in and they shadow me and work with me, and I show them where everything's at and show them the ropes. And if they're still willing to do it, then they get added to the sub list. And like I said, we're in a pretty good spot right now. The best we've been in since I was hired here. So I'm really thankful for that. I said I'm like a one-woman department, but everybody needs help. I take pride in doing everything I can independently, but I need help. And when I need help, the staff here, administration and staff, they always step up and help me out. So I'm very grateful for that. It's usually the elementary secretaries have to run over and help me. And sometimes, they'll hear on the radio that I've been called out to the playground or to the high school. And I can't leave 6 students, unattended in the office. And sometimes those girls show up before I've even called for them to come over. So sometimes it's the principal, sometimes it's the guidance counselor, but somebody's always there. So I really appreciate the support of administration. 15. I can't believe it's been 15 years already, but yeah.
Now I think, you've done some work with some Pelham,
Yeah, I did mention that.
so
Yeah.
shadowing, like.
That was new this year. We've kind of partnered with the Pelham Training Center, the EMTs and paramedics. They need a certain amount of training and experience with pediatrics to get their certification. I didn't know a lot about that Pelham Center until I became involved a few months ago, but they offer a really intensive program. I think it's 4 or 5 months that they can go from an EMT to a paramedic. It takes 18 months, most other places. So they are busy, like 7 days a week. They're going places, they're taking classes, they're training. They asked me if, they could send students over so they can count that as their pediatric experience. And I was a little leery of it because it's just kind of like an extra thing to do, but it's turned out to be a really positive experience, and everybody that's come in has been great, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and it makes me feel good. It's helping out the community, so that's a good thing that's happened this year too.
Don't forget you're a nonstop laundromat too. That machine runs nonstop.
I did put that on my wish list for the new office, washer and dryer, and I think a lot of people may have thought that was silly, but I do laundry every day, just like at home. But it's pretty cool because, if a kid gets sick or, has an accident, I can get them clean clothes and I can wash theirs. Most of the time they go home and out clothes. And, in years past, I didn't have, number one, I didn't have the storage to keep all those sizes of clothes to accommodate that. And number two, anytime I did give a kid something to wear home, I never saw it again, and I get that. I have retailers that, oh, I didn't realize I had this. See so-and-so's, it just doesn't come back. So it's great that I can keep the clothes that have been donated for use at school. And blankets, kids are sick, they're cold, I give them a blanket and it gets some moisture. It's not gonna get picked up. It's huge. The washer and dryer is a big deal.
You also do hundreds and hundreds of physicals every year that you didn't add to your list. Organize that.
I practiced at home when I was 8, so I had to. Yeah, every year we do free sports physicals here. We've done it for 10 years. And usually, we do 200, about 200. So it's a lot of prep work. This year the athletic department was involved, and since we're a little bit different than normal, in years past I've pretty much done all of it myself, and it's another great service for our community. again, as a parent myself, I know how that sneaks up on you. You realize, August 1st, when my kid can't be in a sport without their physical, it's really nice because they got it last May at school. Parents don't have to worry about it. It's be there. And it's a really great
I feel like you're like a superhero. The Hendricks children are frequent flyers in the nurse's office. I really appreciate you.
Well, I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy helping get the kids and the other kids too. It's a very unique job because you're kind of like a mom to a lot of them, and you have to be prepared for every medical emergency and know what to do in those cases. And there's kids that have some pretty serious health issues that you have to take care of every day and be responsible for and help them get some little TLC, and that's what I do. Pretty broad spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I'm thankful.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
All right. And now we are ready for the superintendent's report.
Thought I'd give some updates, one on the construction process and progress. One thing that's not really visible, if you remember, was the piping, getting to galvanized piping, and the pipes were 20 years past their life expectancy. All of that is done. The water softeners were 20 years past their life expectancy. Those have been updated and installed. That's done. If you remember, we had, I don't know how long ago, maybe 40 years ago, a gate that High Lift had donated to separate the weight room from the back of the bleachers. And there used to be sliding gates. And all of a sudden, after years of it being fine, the fire marshal changed, and then it was no longer acceptable. So we had to remove the gates, which then meant that it was open and unsecure area for controlling students going in and out only with coaches. So we added a door. That's been done, installed. The doors on both ends now are locked. So any faculty or staff member, they have a fire key. That's the key that goes in. So it's not a specialized key, but obviously only faculty and staff have it. So now it's secured. Our coaches can take students in there, and students don't have the access without coaches. So that's been completed. Our science rooms, the flooring, a lot of the piping, the ceilings, the lights, everything's been updated. But if you remember, the original completion date was going to be mid-October due to a delay in casework coming. That is now scheduled to actually come sooner. And so we're hoping that the teachers can get in mid to late September instead of mid to late October. Mr. Dean mentioned about having to move some teachers and fill up every available space that he has. Teachers have been willing. They've moved their things. Mr. Dean's got it organized. Then with the art room, if you remember, Mr. Legrand was supposed to be able to be in his room before school started, and that casework actually got delayed. So Mr. Dean and Mr. Legrand found another room for him, so he is starting his classes in an alternate location. And but his timeline is, or the art room timeline is now the same as the science lab, time frames for the art room and science rooms, where they should be getting in mid to late September. Of course, it's construction. I just told you about 2 changes. So next month, when I give you another update, we'll see what the change is then. The only piece that I know that they have left in the art room prior to the casework coming is Monday. They're going to have to shut off the water to that area because one of the things was moving some of the pipes and where his sinks are. He's got the grinder and he's got what collects the clay because they do a lot of clay projects. So the water will be shut off for a couple hours. Matt Bales is going to let already has let Mr. Dean know so that he can let his staff that'll be affected know. That change just for a couple hours for Monday while they do that. Let's see. Another piece was we had a lot of chalkboards throughout the school district, and we wanted to get those updated to whiteboards. And so that was something that came in quite a bit under budget, and it's all been completed. It was completed pretty early in the process. Another piece that's taken a lot of time this summer and kind of pivoted a couple times is, you all know that I think it was 6 years ago when new flooring went into the elementary. There's water that pushes up through the seams of the tiles. So even when it was 1 month old several years ago, they were already having issues where it looked like the glue was coming up and the water was coming up. So the original fix that a civil engineer had came up with was dealing with the storm drains and the pipes that the storm drains have to the east of our buildings. They were saying they need to move it from 8 inches to 12 inches. So that was going to be their plan. But as we were going through the process, Matt Bales and I did not believe that that would actually address the issue, because even when it hasn't rained for 3 weeks straight, that water still pushes up. So it's got to be the water table. So we brought in somebody else to give another opinion and more insight, and their answer seemed more credible and believable, that it's a high water table. That's what we already knew. And really, to address it would take removing all the flooring and a lot of the concrete, and boring through and putting in French drains, and talking about millions of dollars. So that option was thrown out the window, although we found out this is what it would take. So then a new solution came. And what I've learned through this process, we all know that water is a strong natural force. It's being pushed up because of the high water table, so it will find some place to go out. That's what was happening in those floors, is it was finding the weak points in the seams, and it was pushing up through there. There's an innovative carpet where the threads are turned on its side. A place that some of you may have been is Gamebridge. They use it there. There's more and more schools in Indiana. I contacted a couple of them that use it, and you cannot see any traffic patterns or any wear. No matter how much foot traffic like Gamebridge that you have. But to deal with the water, what it allows is it allows the water anywhere in there to come up, and it vaporizes because it's so spread out instead of pushing to one spot. So what we've done is we've had it put in the preschool room only, so that we can test it out for a couple months and make sure that it comes through, what they're promising, and all of that. We do believe that this will solve the problem that we have. It's not going to address or change a high water table, but it's going to remove that the damage that's being done to the tiles, and allow that water. And it's Jonas Johnson was there for part of the process as well, and it should be even easier for custodians to clean any type of stains. Elementary classrooms for some reason have a lot of spills, and all different types of fluids or non-fluids that get spilled or put on the floor. So this should be even easier for them to clean up when Unit 6, Jeff Montgomery, gets called. So we are excited about it. And like I said, after we do a trial for a month or so, then we can look at doing the rest of the classrooms in that hallway. This will actually bring us in an estimated $300,000 under budget for what we had appropriated to fix that water issue, the glue issue. So if that does happen, then at some point I'm going to come back with, now we're under budget, what are we going to do with the remaining funds of the bond? Because if you remember, when we were going through the process initially, there were things on our list that we had to eliminate, and so we will come back and see what we can do there. So kind of a construction update. Then, as you all know, we're starting the child care facility, and I know there's quite a few families anxiously awaiting for that to start. Of course, construction takes a process, but they are getting started. It's already, you can see some stakes out in the ground, and so right now the estimated completion date, but keep in mind it's construction, so we'll see what changes, is April of 2026, which would allow us to open in, the fall of 26, probably in line with the school year in August. Part of just the childcare in general, I've mentioned this before, we do have an executive director, because remember this grant that we applied for was a collaborative with all 5 school districts in the county, so that 5 childcare facilities could be added for our county. And so we have a shared executive director, very similar to what we do with the special education co-op. What she's been working on is working through selecting a curriculum, and she will be going through the process of onboarding staff probably next month. We're working on scheduling a meeting where Mr. Bradburn comes, because I will want him leading the interview process to make sure our policies are followed. She will be in on that, but he and his team will be part of that process, since they will be our employees. So that'll all be ongoing throughout this school year. Then I also want to bring up our calendar committee process. If you date back to 2 years, 2 years ago, I was putting together a calendar committee where we worked on, I like to do 2 years of calendars at a time. It allows families to plan really far out. We now are entering the 25-26 school year. That calendar set, what we'll be working on with the calendar committee is the 26-27 and 27-28 school years. What I'm looking for on the committee is I want a teacher from elementary, a teacher from middle school, and a teacher from high school included. Sent out an email to the teachers, and I'd say within a minute, I had volunteers from each of those schools. So then I had to say, hey, thanks, I got enough, because they were still coming in. If you're a parent and you saw the letter that I sent yesterday, there was a mention to the calendar committee, because I'm also looking for a parent of an elementary, of a middle school, of a high school. So I want 3 parents. I know there are times in the past that schools may have said, well, this teacher is a teacher at an elementary and has a high school child, so they're meeting 2 stakeholders. I don't want that. What I want, it's perfectly fine to do, but what I'm looking for in this committee is 3 parents that don't work at the school. So far, I have the elementary parent selected, the first one to volunteer, still looking for middle or high school parent. Then I also want to add a high school student to the committee. And then part of the process, like I did 2 years ago, I will send out surveys to 3 different stakeholder groups. One will be parents, one will be faculty and staff, and then one will be students. Now, what I did before is I think I went down to 5th grade, and then I went all the way up, but I won't be asking seniors for their input. One, if they got a sense of humor like mine, and they look and say, well, I'm not going to be here either those 2 years, they could add some interesting things to the survey. So not looking for their input, because it's not going to include them, but I want student input on the surveys, and the surveys will all be similar, but I want to be able to say this stakeholder group, this is what they're saying, and this one, what they're saying. So on that, some things that we'll be looking at, we'll always talk about the start date. Everybody says it seems like we start school earlier and earlier every year, which does seem like that. I don't disagree. But I know that then we talk about the end date. Well, everybody always wants to finish before Memorial Day. So if you want to start after Labor Day, then we're probably going to go into June. And then we'll talk about length of spring break. Historically, it's always been 1 week. Do you want to make it 2 weeks? We'll see what the surveys say, and then we'll bring it to that committee to discuss. Same thing with fall break. We have a week. I know there's some people that love a week. I know that some people would like 2 days. I know some people would like 3 days. I know part of the discussion will include, the state fairs in early August, so for some people it affects them. So there's a lot that will go into it, but we'll also talk about what holidays we want to ensure that we have off in the calendar. And every time we talk about each one of those, it'll adjust the start or end date. So we'll work through it. And like I said, I want those different voices on the committee, and then also on the committee, the principals get voluntold to be on the committee as well. So they are willingly accepting being on that committee because they do have a perspective that needs to be brought in as well, based on events going on in the school and whatnot. And I will never forget that we will take off the Friday of Apple Festival. So that will be in there. But we talked through all of those things, and so it is a process. Like I said, I like to do it over 2 years so that people can plan really far out, and I want the right voices being heard in the room and everybody to have a chance to have their voice heard. So, kind of the process.
Yeah, all right, thank you. And is there any board member comments and items for future agendas?
Is there an update on the middle school hallway?
Are you talking about the internet?
Yeah.
Still working on it, so no official update, but we've identified what the problem is, and so we're working on trying to get that solution. And the goal is to get it before the first day of school. But I was working on it all the way up until right before this meeting, so we're trying. If not, I mean, Mr. Dean can work his magic and just move a whole middle school hallway somewhere else. There's no open rooms, but
And then did they fix the elevator?
you know what? That was another part of the construction update that I forgot. So originally we knew that that one of the elevators, it's outside the cafeteria, and then on the bottom it's outside the nurse's office. It was at its end of life, and of course, when you're talking about elevators, you're talking about ADA compliance. You're talking about a lot of inspection factors, so there's requirements that have to be met. So originally, we thought we were going to have to replace the whole elevator, which is over $500,000. But when we dove into what actually has to be done, it was electrical updates and the panel, and we were able to do that for a little bit under $70,000. All of it is done, completed, installed, but so it's not broken. It's just turned off because we can't turn it on until we have a state inspector report or and state inspection come. And so there's one more piece that one of the contractors has to come in and finalize. It's all in there. It works, but we just can't have it on until it's inspected. That company should be here tomorrow. Worst case scenario Monday, and historically when that last step's done and the state inspector is called, historically they've come within 1 day. And I've continually pushed to say school starts Wednesday, we have kids that need it, it needs to be done by then. So you don't have a state inspection license, do you?
Wish I did.
But so we're coming up on a pretty tight timeline, but right now it looks like we should be good. So thanks for reminding me of that with the
Is the
construction.
fifth grade, the one at the end of the fifth grade working properly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Just don't put 1,200 pound
Kids on
yeah.
there.
well, that, but a water loaded machine on it, and then it'll work just fine.
I think they load tested it for 1,800 pounds. Yeah.
Just don't put me in it when you.
All right. Any other board member comments or items for future agendas?
I just want to thank our community members. They always really step up when our teachers put out wish lists. I think that's really neat that people are so invested in making sure that they have what they need to start the school year. So everybody knows money's tight around here. So.
All right.
Hitting on that, I'd like to talk about Mr. Graves, Kevin Graves. He's been working odd jobs pressure washing this summer for money to put back into his classroom. I think that's amazing, and that shows his level of dedication to our students. And we're very lucky to have him, and we've got a lot of great staff like that. So.
All right. Any other comments? Seeing none, our future meeting, our next regular school board meeting will be Thursday, August the 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. here in the Middle and High School Media Center. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Mhm.